Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The living room glowed with the warm scent of jollof rice and fried plantain. Mama Nwakigo sat upright on the velvet couch, her head wrapped in a geli the color of hibiscus, her eyes watching her son-in-law like a hawk, but he was flawless. Too flawless. Desmond, this stew tastes like something served in heaven, Mama said, chuckling. Do you always cook this well? Desmond beamed, placing a glass of chilled zobo beside her. Only for special queens like you, Mama. Nkem deserves the best and I make sure she gets it. Nkem, sitting beside her mother, forced a smile. She'd learned how to mask unease with practiced grace. Her fingers brushed nervously over the edge of her wrapper, heart ticking like a time bomb. Mama said, nodding. I thank God for blessing my daughter with a good man. These days men don't even know how to say please. But you serve her. That's how it should be. Desmond let out a deep laugh, a rich, charismatic sound. Nkem knew it too well. It was the laugh he used in boardrooms and Sunday fellowships. The laugh that charmed everyone. But in private, his silence could slice through bone. Later that evening, Mama reclined in the guest room, sipping her tea, humming a hymn. Nkem stood in the corridor, watching her through a crack in the door, a soft smile tugging at her lips. Tobe tugged her wrapper. Mummy, can I watch cartoons? Shoo, she whispered quickly, bending down. Don't speak unless Grandma speaks to you first. Remember what we said. The 6-year-old nodded solemnly, clutching his small red teddy bear. Okay. Desmond strolled in from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel, grinning. Dinner's packed away. Mama has everything she needs. Yes, Nkem replied softly. Good. She should be happy here, he said, stepping closer. His smile tightened. And so should you. She nodded, eyes cast downward. Of course. He leaned in and kissed her forehead, not out of affection, but because Mama peeked from her door at that moment. Nkem stiffened under his touch. My children. Mama beamed. It's good to see love in this generation. Desmond turned with ease. Mama, love is a daily choice. And I choose your daughter. Mama clapped her hands. God will bless you more and more. Behind her mother's joyful laughter, Nkem caught her own reflection in the glass cabinet. Her eyes looked hollow. Her mouth moved like a puppet's. Desmond knew his script by heart, and tonight he was the perfect actor. When they tucked Tobe into bed, Nkem lingered a moment longer, brushing his hair gently. Did you enjoy dinner? He nodded. But Daddy didn't look at you when you talked. Her hand froze. Go to sleep, baby. Desmond stepped behind her, arms folded. He notices everything, huh? You should be more careful. Nkem didn't respond. She knew better. Back in their bedroom, Desmond slipped into bed with a yawn. Tomorrow, make sure your mother doesn't overstay her welcome. We have a rhythm here. She disrupts it. Nkem lay still. She only came for a week. Make it less. Or next time I'll be less charming. She swallowed. Yes, Desmond. He reached over, kissed her again, softer now. Good girl. But as the lights dimmed and the city night hummed outside, Nkem felt her chest tighten. Her mother thought she'd married a king. The whole world did. Only she knew the crown was hollow. Morning sun filtered through the curtains as Nkem stood in the kitchen, slowly stirring ogbono soup. Her body moved on autopilot, each motion careful and precise. Behind her, the silence thickened. Desmond sat in the dining room, eyes fixed on his phone. He hadn't spoken since last night. Mama Nwakigo walked in cheerful. Morning, my dear. Ah, that smell. This kitchen is a temple. Nkem smiled. Good morning, Mama. Did you sleep well? Like a baby? And Desmond? Such a gentle spirit. Always saying the right thing. Nkem nodded but said nothing. Her phone buzzed in her wrapper. A message from Chioma. Still acting perfect? Her fingers barely had time to respond before Desmond glanced up. Who are you chatting with so early? Chioma, she said carefully. Tell her you're busy. This is family time. She quickly tucked the phone into her apron. Yes. Mama walked in again, humming. You know, Nkem, not many husbands do what Desmond does. You're blessed. Nkem stirred the soup harder, her hand trembling slightly. I know. Later, after breakfast, Desmond picked up Tobe to take him for a haircut. The house fell into a quieter rhythm. Mama relaxed on the couch, but Nkem walked to her room and locked the door. She needed a moment to breathe. Inside, she picked up her diary, a small brown notebook she'd hidden under the bed. She flipped it open to yesterday's page. He hasn't touched me with love in months. Only when Mama is here does he smile. I wonder who the real Desmond is. The man I met or the one who waits for privacy to strike. She shut it quickly. It wasn't safe. Nothing was. That evening, Desmond returned, smiling and laughing, holding Tobe's hand. He walked straight to Mama. Your grandson was the star at the barber's. Everyone asked if he was a model. Mama laughed. Ah, you two are doing well. God will bless you more. Nkem forced herself to sit beside them, her smile mechanical. Desmond reached around her shoulder, whispering low into her ear so Mama wouldn't hear. You know what happens when I catch you sneaking around with your little notes and texts, right? Nkem didn't flinch. She just smiled and leaned into him, praying for night to come quickly. Dinner was set like a royal banquet. Mama's favorite pepper soup simmered in a clay pot while the scent of fresh ugwa leaves danced in the air. Desmond poured drinks and set the table with elegance. Mama beamed. You serve your wife like a prince. Desmond chuckled. She deserves more than I can ever give. Nkem kept her eyes on the pot. They sat to eat and Desmond began recounting a story. Remember that time Nkem nearly set the kitchen on fire with moi? Mama laughed. What? Mine Nkem? Desmond added. She mixed the beans so poorly, it turned to cement. I teased her for days. Nkem gave a tight smile. She had cried that day. Not for the ruined meal, but because Desmond had mocked her for hours, calling her a disappointment. Ah, it's good to laugh, Mama said, oblivious. Desmond leaned in. She burned stew just last week. Didn't she, babe? Nkem's hands tensed. Yes. My mistake. He smirked. Mistakes happen. Often. Tobe watched from the stairs, quiet as ever. After dinner, Mama rubbed her full belly. You're lucky to have him, Nkem. Men like this don't come often. Nkem managed a nod. Later, in the bathroom, she looked into the cracked mirror above the sink. Her eyes had lost their light. Her lips pressed into a line, holding back all the things she wanted to scream. Desmond walked in, toothbrush in hand. Don't forget to scrub the toilet this time. She whispered, Yes, Desmond. Sunday morning shimmered with gold. Desmond insisted they all dress in matching Ankara outfits. At church, he held Nkem's hand through the entire service. You're glowing, the pastor said to her. She smiled politely. During prayers, Desmond grabbed her hand and led their row. Mama watched proudly. You're lucky, she whispered. After church, Desmond took them out to lunch. Every gesture was perfect. Public Desmond was the dream. At home, Mama said, Maybe I should stay a few more days. This peace is good for the soul. Desmond responded quickly. Ah, Mama, you deserve rest. Don't stress yourself. Nkem remained silent. That night, when the house was quiet and the crickets chirped, Nkem lay beside Desmond. He wasn't asleep. He leaned close. I'll be glad when she's gone. His tone was venomous. She turned to look at him. His face was stone. She's slowing down the house, he added. And you're getting too comfortable. She said nothing. Words were dangerous now. The next day, Nkem locked herself in the bathroom and sobbed. Mama knocked gently. Nkem, are you okay? She wiped her face quickly. Just a little stressed, Mama. I'm fine. Mama hesitated. You're sure? Yes. Desmond appeared behind her, wrapping an arm around both women. Stress comes and goes. Let me take care of her, Mama. He kissed Nkem's temple. Don't worry about her. I've got her. Mama looked relieved. I know you do. Later that evening in the bedroom, Desmond slammed the door. You almost ruined everything, he growled. Nkem sat frozen. He leaned in close. Don't ever let her hear you cry again. You understand? She nodded slowly. You almost ruined my image. Then he picked up her phone and smashed it against the floor. One more mistake and I won't just break phones. She picked up the pieces silently, her heart breaking right alongside the glass. The morning Mama was to leave, the air was stiff with unspoken truths. Nkem helped her pack slowly, folding each wrapper as if it carried memories she didn't want to lose. I almost don't want to leave, Mama said cheerfully, placing her Bible into her handbag. You two are like royalty in this house. Desmond is such a treasure. Nkem forced a smile. Yes, Mama. He is. Mama looked at her closely, sensing something off. But Nkem turned away quickly. She wasn't ready to break the illusion. Desmond carried Mama's bag to the car. Safe journey, Mama. Don't worry about your daughter. She's in perfect hands. I know, Mama said, smiling brightly. Thank you, my son. I'll pray for you both. She embraced Nkem tightly. He's a good man. Keep him, my daughter. Nkem's heart sank. Amen, Mama. The car pulled out of the compound. Desmond waved until it disappeared. The gate groaned shut. Silence. Desmond turned slowly. The smile melted from his face like wax. Finally, he said, "Now let's talk." Nkem backed away slowly. Desmond stepped forward, his eyes ice. "You embarrassed me while she was here," he said. "You couldn't even keep your tears in the bathroom." Shut up. I wasn't finished." He picked up her phone and dropped it into the kitchen sink, turning the tap on. Water gushed over it. "From now on, no texting, no calls without my say-so. No fake smiling unless I say smile. You understand?" Nkem nodded, trembling. "Good," he said coldly. "We don't have an audience anymore, so we can stop acting." He walked past her, the air crackling with suppressed rage. That night, Nkem lay in bed, unable to sleep. The sheets felt like chains. Every word he'd said echoed in her skull. Then she heard it. A thud. She got up to check. Tobe's drawing book had fallen. She picked it up, and what she saw made her stomach drop. Crayons streaked the pages. One drawing showed a woman, clearly Nkem, with tears rolling down her cheeks. Another showed a man towering over her, mouth wide, yelling. In the corner, a small boy with a teddy bear watched in silence. Nkem covered her mouth. Her son had seen it all. She walked into his room. Tobe was awake, curled up, his teddy held tightly. "Tobe," she whispered, "did you draw this?" He nodded. "Why?" "Because you're sad," he said softly. "And Daddy scares me." She hugged him tightly, tears soaking his hair. She had thought she was protecting him by hiding it, but she hadn't. The next morning, Desmond found the drawing. "What's this garbage?" he growled, crumpling it up. "It's a child's drawing," Nkem said quietly. "It's an insult. I don't yell. I discipline. If he keeps drawing rubbish, I'll show him what real yelling looks like." He stormed off, and Nkem held Tobe close. Her son was already living in the fear she'd spent years silencing. From that day, Desmond became a tyrant. Meals had to be ready at 7 a.m. sharp. Silence was required during his naps. Tobe wasn't allowed to speak unless spoken to. Nkem watched her home become a prison. But she wasn't completely helpless. One afternoon, she dug through a drawer and found an old Nokia phone. She charged it secretly. She began recording. Desmond's cruel instructions. His insults. The quiet sobs of her son. She hid the phone inside a flower vase in their bedroom. Each day she would transfer a new recording. Every cruel word became digital ammunition. Desmond had no idea. That evening, he snapped at her again over salty rice. She smiled, nodded, and went to serve more. But the phone had caught it all. Chioma appeared at the gate like sunshine through storm clouds. "I came to see my best friend," she said, hugging Nkem tightly. Desmond frowned. "You should have called." "Spontaneity is what makes life beautiful," she replied, smiling too brightly. Nkem served drinks. Desmond sat close, his hand draped possessively on her shoulder. Chioma tried to pull her aside. "She's not available for side conversations," Desmond said with a fake chuckle. Chioma saw it instantly. The control. The fear. Later, in the kitchen, Nkem slipped her a napkin with shaky handwriting. "I'm not okay. Help me." Chioma nodded slowly and whispered, "I have a plan. Hang in there." That night, Chioma left with fake laughter and hugs. But her eyes told Nkem everything she needed to know. This would not end in silence. Chioma invited Nkem and Desmond for dinner under the guise of celebrating her cousin's return from overseas. Nkem hesitated, but Desmond agreed, thinking it would help maintain appearances. Chioma opened her home with candles, soft music, and perfectly curated tension. Her cousin Ikenna was calm, dressed in a tailored suit, and had the poise of a man who knew more than he said. "Desmond and Nkem, welcome. Ikenna just got back from the UK. He practices family law." Desmond smiled, sipping his wine. "Law. Tough profession." Ikenna chuckled. "It gets tougher when cases involve silent victims. Especially those suffering covert abuse." Nkem choked slightly on her drink. Desmond's hand gripped her thigh under the table. "Abuse is a strong word," Desmond said. "Only to the guilty," Ikenna replied, meeting his gaze. The dinner continued with light chatter, but the air grew heavier. Then Chioma dropped the line. "Some people are too polite, until they're exposed." Desmond stiffened. "I agree," Ikenna added. "And sometimes exposure is the only way to get justice." As they left, Desmond muttered, "Your friend is getting too bold." Nkem just smiled. Inside her purse, the recorder was still running. Chioma didn't waste time. The next day she drove to Mama Nwakigo's village with flash drives, audio clips and trembling fingers. Mama sat silently as the recordings played. Desmond's cold, controlling voice echoed through the room. "No one cries in my house. Not even children. I said don't speak unless spoken to. You embarrassed me. You'll regret that." By the time it ended, Mama's hands were shaking. "I told her to keep him," she whispered. "I told her he was a good man. My daughter was living in hell while I praised her captor." Chioma held her hand. "We still have time to get her out. But we have to move carefully." Mama stood up slowly. "We will end this. Quietly but powerfully." She picked up her handbag and her Bible. Her eyes blazed with purpose. "This isn't just about Nkem anymore. This is about every woman who smiled through torment." Nkem began searching Desmond's study at night. She found receipts, statements, and hidden folders. One file caught her eye, a bank transfer of 4.2 million Nigerian nairas from her late father's estate account. The signature was forged. The date was just 3 months after their wedding. Her heart pounded. She took photos of everything. Later, she found an email from Desmond to a real estate agent. He had purchased a land property using her inheritance as collateral. She sat on the cold floor whispering, "He didn't just break my heart. He robbed my father's legacy." With every document she scanned and saved, her spine straightened. Fear began to burn into focus, into fire. By morning, she had a full folder of evidence tucked safely inside her handbag. Chioma arranged a meeting with Ikenna. He looked through the documents and said one word: "We're ready." That day, Nkem cooked Desmond's favorite meal, wore his favorite dress, and even laughed at his jokes. He was pleased, relaxed. "That's more like it," he said, wiping his hands after dinner. She nodded, playing the role one last time. Chioma sent a message: "Shelter ready. Lawyer ready. Pack only essentials." She tucked Tobe into bed early and whispered, "We're going on an adventure tomorrow. Don't be scared." He blinked. "Will Daddy come?" She kissed his forehead. "No. Just us." That night, Desmond fell into deep sleep, wine loosening his grip. Nkem quietly unlocked the front door. She placed a letter on the bedside table. Read, "You fooled my mother. You can't fool me anymore." At 4 a.m. a car waited outside. She clutched Tobe, handbag over her shoulder, and walked out of the gate. She didn't look back. Desmond woke up with a yawn, reaching out for Nkem. The bed was empty. Too quiet. He sat up, confused. "Nkem?" No answer. He checked the bathroom. Nothing. He stepped into the living room. No food. No scent of stew. No toys on the floor. Even Tobe's teddy was gone. Then he saw the letter. He read it twice. His face paled. He rushed to his study. Files were missing. No. He grabbed his phone, but it was dead. The charger had been removed. Panic rose in his throat. A loud knock startled him. "Mr. Desmond Okoye?" He opened the door to find 2 officers and a lawyer. "McKenna. You're needed for questioning regarding financial misconduct and domestic abuse." Desmond laughed nervously. "This is a mistake. My wife and we're fine." Ikenna handed him a tablet. A recording played. Desmond's own voice: "You almost ruined my image. One more mistake and I won't just break phones." His knees buckled. The shelter was quieter than Nkem expected. No screaming. No slamming doors. Just peace, and the sound of a distant kettle whistling in the kitchen. She sat on a small couch, holding Tobe, who was curled beside her with his teddy pressed to his chest. "Mummy, is this a hotel?" She smiled for the first time in days. "No, baby. It's a safe place." He blinked. "Are we staying here forever?" She paused. "No. Just until we can have our own safe home. One where we can breathe." Chioma walked in carrying tea and bread. She knelt in front of Nkem. "You did it. You got out. And the rest, we handle now." Nkem gripped her friend's hands tightly. "You saved me. You saved yourself. I just drove the car." Later that afternoon, Ikenna arrived. He handed Nkem a folder. "We have enough for a court order. Emergency custody. Financial investigation. And media blackout until you're safe to speak." Nkem opened the folder. Her hands trembled. "What happens next?" "We file. We face him. And we finish this." For the first time in years, Nkem exhaled. Desmond sat at his office desk, staring at the headline on his tablet. "Prominent architect under investigation for domestic abuse and financial misconduct." His heart slammed against his ribs. Photos of him and Nkem, taken from church events, were plastered across the internet. The recordings had been submitted to legal channels, but a leak had brought them into the public sphere. His assistant walked in, face pale. "Sir. The board wants an emergency meeting." "Cancel it." "Sir, they've already convened. You need to log in. Now." Desmond clicked into the video call. 11 board members, stone-faced. "Desmond," the chairman began, "the allegations are serious. Your public image affects our brand integrity." "They're lies," Desmond said. "My wife is confused. Emotional." One of the women on the board interrupted. "We heard the recordings. You were anything but calm." Another added, "Your financial tampering with her inheritance is now under federal review. We've suspended all your active projects pending outcome." Desmond slammed his laptop shut. "This is a witch hunt." His phone buzzed again. A message from a sponsor. "Until further notice, we're terminating all endorsements." The walls of his empire were beginning to crack. The knock on the shelter door came just after lunch. Nkem opened it and froze. Mama Nwakigo stood there, her face drawn with regret and sleeplessness. She stepped in slowly, trembling. "My daughter. My daughter?" Nkem's lips quivered. "Mama?" Mama dropped her purse and knelt at her feet. "Forgive me. I failed you. I failed you so deeply." Nkem knelt too, pulling her into an embrace. They wept together, holding each other tightly. "You didn't fail me, Mama. I just stopped pretending." Mama touched her cheeks, tears rolling freely. "I should have seen it. I called him a good man. I told you to stay. I told you to keep him. Because he fooled you like he fooled me. But I'm out now. We're out." Tobe peeked from the corner. "Grandma?" Mama opened her arms. "My sweet boy. Come." He ran into her hug, burying his face in her lap. That night, Mama helped tuck Tobe into bed. She turned to Nkem. "Come home, child. The real home. My home. Until you build yours." Nkem nodded slowly. "Okay, Mama. Let's go." The courtroom was silent, save for the shuffle of papers and the occasional murmur. Nkem sat upright, dressed in a modest but elegant navy blue gown. Her braids were pulled back neatly, and her hands rested gently on her lap. She looked strong, but inside her stomach churned. Desmond sat across the courtroom, flanked by his lawyer. He looked smaller than she remembered. No wide smile. No confident posture. His eyes were puffy, like he hadn't slept in days. The judge, a stern woman with wise eyes, entered. "Court is now in session." Nkem's lawyer Ikenna rose. "Your Honor, we present compelling evidence of emotional abuse, financial manipulation, and coercive control against my client, Mrs. Nkem Okoye." He played audio recordings in short bursts. Desmond's voice rang through the courtroom speakers. "I said no crying in my house. You know what happens when you embarrass me. You almost ruined my image. One more mistake and I won't just break phones." Gasps filled the room. Desmond squirmed in his seat. Ikenna continued, "We also present bank transfer documents and forged signatures showing that Mr. Okoye misappropriated funds from Nkem's late father's estate. The total sum, 4.2 million Nigerian nairas." The judge examined the evidence. "Mr. Okoye, do you dispute these claims?" Desmond's lawyer stood. "My client acknowledges the transfers but insists it was a marital decision." Nkem's voice finally rang clear across the courtroom. "He didn't even tell me. He used my father's legacy to buy land in his name and told me we couldn't afford a baby stroller." Her voice cracked. "He broke more than my trust. He broke me. But I'm putting the pieces back together now. And I want my son to grow up in a home where fear doesn't live in the walls." There was a long pause. Then the judge nodded. "Based on the overwhelming evidence, this court grants Mrs. Nkem Okoye full custody of the minor child, Tobe. Financial restitution will be arranged for the stolen funds. Furthermore, a restraining order is placed on Mr. Okoye effective immediately." Nkem closed her eyes, tears slipping free. But these were not tears of fear. They were relief. Freedom. Closure. Desmond stood slowly, mouth open, trying to find words. "Nkem, please." She turned her head toward him, calm. "Now you be polite." Her voice was steady. Final. The bailiff escorted Desmond out. Chioma rushed forward, hugging Nkem. "You did it. You really did it." Mama Nwakigo clapped her hands with tears in her eyes. "Glory be to God. My daughter has been restored." Outside the courtroom, journalists swarmed but were held back. Ikenna shielded Nkem. "No interviews yet. Let the dust settle." She nodded, holding Tobe's hand tightly. They walked away from the courthouse as a new day began, one that belonged to her. The air smelled different now. 3 months had passed since the court ruling. Desmond's name had quietly disappeared from real estate boards. Sponsors dropped him. His former partners released a vague statement about personal accountability. The man who once controlled rooms with charm now kept to shadows. But Kem blossomed. Her new apartment was modest but full of light. Cream curtains danced in the breeze. Tobe's drawings now hung proudly on the fridge, not hidden in drawers. Each corner of their home felt like healing. Like peace. She stood in front of a small shop lot, key in hand, sign overhead. Well within, Women's Wellness and Self-Care Studio. It wasn't just a business. It was a mission. Chioma arrived, grinning. Is the queen ready to cut her ribbon? Kem laughed. You make it sound bigger than it is. It is big. You left with nothing and now look. You're building something that can't be stolen. Mama arrived next, dressed in her finest ankara. She held a tray of meat pies and zobo. We must celebrate like true women. With food. Tobe came running from the sidewalk holding a sign he made himself. It read, Mummy's Happy Place. Kem crouched, hugging him. Thank you, my angel. You helped me get here. He grinned. Is Daddy still gone? She paused. Daddy is away. And we're okay, aren't we? He nodded. I like it when you're not scared. She kissed his forehead. Me too. Inside the studio, the walls were soft pink and sage green. There were cushions, shelves with journals, herbal teas, and books for healing. A small space in the back was reserved for free therapy sessions for women in crisis. Nkem had partnered with local counselors who heard her story and wanted to help. As she stood in the center of the room, a few women trickled in. One held a baby, another walked with hunched shoulders, eyes wary. Welcome, Nkem said gently. There's no judgment here. Only healing. The room slowly filled with quiet conversation and cautious laughter. Tobe helped pour juice. Chioma adjusted the welcome banner. Mama handed out snacks like a proud queen mother. Then Nkem stood before the group. 3 months ago, I left everything behind. I had no money, no home, and no plan. But I had truth. And I had people who helped me remember I was still worthy. Still whole. The room was silent. I built this place not just for me but for anyone who has ever felt small inside their own home. For anyone who needed a moment to breathe, to cry, to rebuild. This is for you. Tears shimmered in the eyes of several women. A woman raised her hand. How did you know it was time to go? Kem paused. The day my mother left was the day I stopped leaving myself behind. Chioma clapped slowly. Mama nodded, holding back tears. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over the sidewalk. Tobe tugged on Kem's wrapper. Mummy, I drew something. He handed her a picture. It showed a woman with a cape, a big smile, and a heart on her chest. It's you. You're super, Mummy. She laughed through tears. I love it. I love you. Later that night, Nkem sat on her balcony sipping ginger tea, her feet up. The stars blinked gently. Tobe was asleep, snoring softly. Chioma joined her with a blanket. You did it. You really made it. Nkem nodded slowly. I still have healing to do. But for the first time, I'm not afraid of the journey. You turned pain into power. And silence into voice. They sat quietly, breathing in peace. Far away, Desmond sat alone in a rented apartment, scrolling through news headlines that no longer mentioned his name. But in this moment that no longer mattered to Nkem. She had rebuilt. She had risen. And she was free. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.